Hollywood is defined by its big names and flashy leads, sure, but often, the people who really keep the show moving are the ones in the background. You know, the actors who pop up in every other movie or show, always killing it in a side role, but never quite getting the spotlight. The ones who make you go, oh yeah, it's that guy. Their faces are everywhere, but not many of us know their names. We're here today to honor these actors and take a look at some of the best actors who are often overlooked. Richard Herd was one of those actors who showed up in everything from sitcoms to sci-fi. Most people probably remember him as Mr. Wilhelm, George's boss at the Yankees on Seinfeld, where he played it completely straight while everything around him spiraled into chaos. But that's just scratching the surface. He also popped up in Star Trek, Voyager, T.J. Hooker, Quantum Leap, and a bunch of movies like All the President's Men and Get Out. He had that kind of commanding presence that made him perfect for authority figures. Never flashy, but always solid. One of those dependable character actors who quietly held a ton of shows and movies together. Wayne Knight is one of those actors who stole every scene he was in without trying too hard. Most people know him as Newman from Seinfeld, Jerry's nemesis and the world's most dramatic mailman, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. He also played the sweaty, scheming Dennis Nedry in Jurassic Park, aka the guy who shut down the whole park for a quick payday and got eaten for it. And if you grew up on 90s movies, you definitely saw him in Space Jam as the clumsy assistant trying to help Michael Jordan save the universe with cartoons. Follow us on MSN for more of the content you love. Patrick Warburton has a voice you'll probably recognize instantly, even if you can't conjure up his face right away. He's probably most famous for playing the hilariously deadpan David Puddy on Seinfeld, but that's just one of his many roles. His most famous voice acting role was as Joe Swanson in Family Guy, and aside from that he's been in a ton of shows from The Emperor's New Groove to a series of unfortunate events. Patrick's whole vibe is this mix of super chill confidence and complete cluelessness, and somehow, it works every time. If you can't pinpoint where you know Bruce McGill's face from, it's because he's been in pretty much everything. He first blew up as the wild, motorcycle-riding D-Day in Animal House, but over the years, he's become Hollywood's go-to guy for playing cops, military guys, or any authority figure who's always one step ahead. He's shown up in MacGyver, The Insider, Law-Abiding Citizen, Lincoln, and like 10 other things you probably forgot he was in. Larry Hankin has been in so many iconic shows and movies that it's actually kind of wild that more people don't know his name. He played Mr. Heckles, the grumpy downstairs neighbor in Friends who hated noise and basically lived to be annoyed. He also showed up in Seinfeld as the actor playing Kramer in the pilot within the show, which was such a perfect bit of meta casting. And if you're into cult classics, you'll spot him in Breaking Bad, Escape from Alcatraz, and even Billy Madison. He's the guy who can show up for 5 minutes and somehow steal the whole scene without even trying. Follow us on MSN for more of the content you love. Phil Morris is the kind of actor who pops up in a show, absolutely nails the role, and leaves you wondering why he isn't in everything. Most people probably remember him best as Jackie Chiles, the fast-talking, over-the-top lawyer from Seinfeld, but Phil's been around way beyond that. He's done soap operas, voice work for tons of animated shows, Justice League, Young Justice, Atlantis, The Lost Empire, and more. You can't deny he has a lot of charisma, making every character feel sharp and a little larger than life. Frances Bay had that sweet grandma look, but she was way more than just background fluff. Most people remember her as the lady Jerry fights over a loaf of marble rye in Seinfeld, which, let's be honest, is one of the funniest food battles on TV. But she also showed up in Happy Gilmore as the adorable grandma who ends up in that super creepy nursing home, along with movies like The Karate Kid in the Attic. Sure, she was usually typecast as an old lady, but her characters always bite, personality, and usually delivered some of the best lines without even raising their voice. Maggie Wheeler is the reason we all still hear, "Oh, my God," in our heads anytime someone drags out a sentence. Yep, she's the one and only Janice from Friends, Chandler's mythological ex with the loudest voice, the wildest laugh, and zero chill. Janice could have been a one-note character, but Maggie turned her into an icon. That laugh alone? Hall of Fame material. She's also popped up in Everybody Loves Raymond, How I Met Your Mother, and even lent her voice to animated shows like Archer. Follow us on MSN for more of the content you love. Jessica Hecht has this super specific energy, slightly awkward but oddly wise. Most people remember her as Susan, Ross's ex-wife's partner on Friends, where she played it cool, sarcastic, and way more level-headed than half the main cast. But she's shown up in all kinds of stuff. Breaking Bad fans will recognize her as Gretchen, where she plays Walt's ex, and she's also appeared in The Boys, The Sinner, and Special. Jessica's great at playing characters who seem low-key at first, but then totally sneak up on you with depth, weirdness, or heart. Steve Hytner is one of those actors you've definitely seen around, especially if you're a Seinfeld fan, because he played Kenny Bania. But beyond that, Steve's been in tons of TV shows and movies, usually as that guy who's a little offbeat but somehow lovable. He's also appeared in a lot of kids shows like That's So Raven and The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, among others, and even though his career has slowed down in recent years, he has left his mark in Hollywood. Don Lake usually plays quirky, slightly awkward characters you can't help but remember. You might know him best as Stu Chermak in The Money Pit or as the hilarious, nerdy Mr. Johnston in The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. He's also had roles in SCTV, The Wonder Years, and a bunch of other classic 80s and 90s comedies. He's been quietly blessing out screens for over 40 years now, but he never quite made it big in the industry. Follow us on MSN for more of the content you love. Carol Kane is best known for her role as the delightfully eccentric Simcha Doblitz-Ravas in Taxi, but she's done way more than just sitcoms. She's popped up in movies like The Princess Bride, The Crazy but Lovable Miracle Max, and Scrooged, and she's also been a regular on shows like Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. She's one of those unforgettable character actors who bring a unique mix of unconventional and offbeat energy to every role. Liz Sheridan was the ultimate TV mom before being the ultimate TV mom was even a thing. She played Helen Seinfeld, Jerry's doting and hilariously overprotective mother on Seinfeld, along with characters like Raquel Ochmanek on Alf and Mrs. Stillman on Life with Louie. She definitely had a comforting presence on the screen, and we'll surely all miss seeing her pop up in random TV shows from time to time. Deborah Jo Rupp has played some of the most comforting characters on TV, usually in sitcoms. Most people know her as Kitty Foreman from That 70s Show, and honestly, that laugh is instantly recognizable. Beyond the basement in Point Place, she's shown up in Friends as Alice, Frank Jr.'s older girlfriend, yeah, that whole thing, and more recently, she's been stealing scenes in Marvel's WandaVision. She's got that always welcome on screen vibe. Like, if she's in the cast, you know it's gonna be fun. Follow us on MSN for more of the content you love. Jane Leeves will forever be remembered as Daphne Moon from Frasier, the live-in physical therapist with psychic feelings, and a thick Manchester accent that somehow made every line funnier. But Jane's been around way longer than that. She had a recurring role on Seinfeld, showed up in Murphy Brown, and later led the comedy Hot in Cleveland alongside a stacked cast of sitcom legends. Her comedic timing is proof of her acting skills, and she always elevates every single scene she's in. Even if you haven't heard Stephen Tobolowsky's name, you've seen his face over and over again. He's the king of showing up, delivering a perfectly weird or uptight line, and somehow stealing the show. His most famous role is probably Ned Ryerson, the overly cheerful insurance guy in Groundhog Day who hits Bill Murray with that unforgettable "Bing." But honestly, that's just the tip of the iceberg. He's been in Glee, Deadwood, Memento, Californication, and like, everything else. Dan Hedaya has made a whole career out of playing guys who seem like they've had enough. Tired dads, cranky bosses, shady uncles, you name it. Most people probably recognize him as Mel Horowitz, Cher's hilariously overprotective dad in Clueless, or Nick Tortelli on Cheers, the sleazy ex-husband you love to hate. He's also popped up in The Usual Suspects, Mulholland Drive, Alien, Resurrection. The guy's been everywhere. Follow us on MSN for more of the content you love. Jane Lynch is one of the most recognizable actors out there who never really plays a leading role. Her most successful role was as Sue Sylvester from Glee, the cheer coach with a personal vendetta against joy itself. That role alone could have cemented her in TV history, but Jane's been crushing it for decades. She's popped up in The 40-Year-Old Virgin, Best in Show, Role Models, and a surprising number of mockumentaries. She plays almost the same character as Sue Sylvester each time, but we're not complaining. Fred Willard made awkward dad roles his thing, or a thing in general. You might remember him as Frank Dunphy, Phil's dad on Modern Family, but Fred's been everywhere, like Best in Show, Anchorman, Everybody Loves Raymond, and a million mockumentaries where he just nails that awkward charm. He has his own little shtick, but it never really gets tiring or boring. Edie McClurg is the ultimate Midwestern nice lady in pretty much everything she's ever been in, and that's exactly what makes her so funny. You probably remember her as the school secretary in Ferris Bueller's Day Off, or maybe as the nosy neighbor in Planes, Trains and Automobiles. She's also voiced a ton of animated characters in everything from The Little Mermaid to Wreck-It Ralph. Edie's got this perfectly tuned comedic rhythm where every word, every pause, every smile lands just right, even if her characters are totally clueless. Follow us on MSN for more of the content you love. Larry Miller is known for playing clever, know-it-all characters. Most people remember him as the overprotective dad in 10 Things I Hate About You, the one with the hilarious pregnancy belly contraption and zero chill about his daughter's dating. He's also popped up in Pretty Woman, The Nutty Professor, and a bunch of Christopher Guest's mockumentaries. Larry has this way of making uptight feel totally relatable, and even when he's being a jerk, you still kinda want to hang out with him. Keith David has a deep, smooth, commanding voice that once you hear, you can never really forget. You might know him from They Live, or maybe as the voice of the Arbiter in Halo, or Goliath in Gargoyles, or the President in Rick and Morty. On screen, he's been in The Thing, Crash, Barbershop, and Community, to name a few. The man's range is ridiculous. Christopher McDonald is basically Hollywood's go-to guy for smug low-key villain you love to hate. If a character has perfect hair, too much confidence, and zero self-awareness, it's probably him. Most people instantly recognize him as Shooter McGavin from Happy Gilmore, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. He's popped up in Thelma and Louise, Requiem for a Dream, Leave It to Beaver, and a ton of TV, always bringing that same slightly punchable charm. Follow us on MSN for more of the content you love. Stephen Root might be one of the most quietly brilliant character actors working, like, you don't always realize it's him, but when you find out, it makes total sense. Most people know him as Milton from Office Space, but he's also popped up in Barry, Dodgeball, Get Out, News Radio, and about 100 other things. Comedy, drama, voice work, he's the voice of Bill in King of the Hill, he just nails everything. Bob Balaban has a quiet presence that somehow makes him one of the most interesting people in any scene. He's not loud, he's not flashy, but that's kinda the point. You've definitely seen him in a bunch of Wes Anderson films, Moonrise Kingdom, The French Dispatch, and he's a regular in Christopher Guest's mockumentaries like Best in Show and A Mighty Wind. He also played the network exec in Seinfeld, the one who tries to wrangle Jerry and George while slowly losing his patience. Peter MacNicol has a lot more range than most actors on this list. He's played all kinds of characters and can go totally unhinged to strangely lovable in the span of like 2 seconds. He's probably best remembered as John Cage on Ally McBeal, but before that, he was Janosch in Ghostbusters 2, giving us one of the most over-the-top, hilariously creepy performances ever. And then there's Beanie from Dragon Slayer, or his brainy villain role in 24, just to show how good his range really is. Follow us on MSN for more of the content you love. You've probably seen David Paymer in Mr. Saturday Night, where he scored an Oscar nomination, or maybe Quiz Show, City Slickers, Ocean's 13, or Get Shorty, and the list goes on. He usually plays the role of some kind of nervous executive, tightly wound lawyer, or unlucky in love accountant, something along those lines. David has this naturally anxious energy that somehow makes you root for him, even when everything's falling apart. Harriet Sansom Harris could just show up, say a line, and everyone watching would just eat it up. She's best known as Bebe Glazer, Frasier's wildly intense and manipulative agent on Frasier, basically a chaotic tornado in heels. She's also popped up in Desperate Housewives as the suspiciously nosy Felicia Tillman, and in a bunch of Ryan Murphy shows like American Horror Story and Ratched. Harriet's got this amazing mix of sharp timing and theatrical flair, but she always keeps her characters grounded enough that they feel real.